game will begin.
They're coming. They're coming. Oh my God.
In 5, 4, 3, 2. Do you have any questions?
Can I have a cigarette?
The heads of the council families will try to kill you and your sister. Whoever does wins the high seat and controls everything.
Everything?
The world.
You're telling me you didn't know your fiancé was in a devil cult?
Listen, if you don't do exactly what I say, we are going to die.
So it begins.
Joder.
Back for round 2, bitch! Yeah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Fresh Cuts. It's Mike. Joining me as always, it's Mr. Venom. What's up, Venom?
Greetings and salutations, billionaire Satanists. I'm sure a couple of those exist somewhere in the world, right? How the hell you doing, Mike? I'm doing all right.
I am doing well after a week of work being down. Today was actually, I would call it half a work day because I was on the phone with IT trying to get things fixed, but we're up and running again at work. So I guess that's a good or bad thing because now we all have like the backlog to work our way through. So, we also got Don and Nelly with us as always. What's up, Don?
Yeah, what's going on? Always happy to be here.
All right. Well, our 2026 theater watches continue with the sequel, Ready or Not 2, Here I Come. Samara Weaving has returned, reprising her role, and she brought a familiar cast with her. So let's get into it. But first, the synopsis. After surviving one deadly game, Grace and her sister Faith must now outrun 4 rival families competing for a powerful throne. Winner takes all. So, does that include the audience? Were we the winners? We will find out what the three of us think. Venom, general thoughts on, I was going to say Ready or Not 2. I was going to say the subtitle with the 2. But yeah, Ready or Not, Here I Come. What'd you think?
I mean, overall, I enjoyed the movie. Ultimately, if you enjoyed the first Ready or Not, I don't think there's too much reason not to enjoy this one. If you were a casual fan of the first Ready or Not, like you liked its originality and, you know, some of the different things that it did, then this one doesn't really offer a whole lot. There's not a whole lot new going on here. You know, we've got another hide and seek game. You know, anyone who's has seen the trailer knows the basic premise. You know, Samara, you know, Grace and her sister this time get kidnapped and are forced to play hide and seek once again, blah, blah, blah. So, like I said, it's a familiar setup. It's a familiar game. It's, you know, a familiar outcome, you know, with as far as some of the deaths that we see and, you know, family members turning against each other and everything else. So it's a lot of been there, done that. But for whatever it's worth, because I enjoyed the first Ready or Not, I enjoyed this one too. I will say that since you're not really discovering as much new information in this one, it might be a little slower to start because, you know, you're just like, well, let's get to the game already. We already know the setup. We've all seen the trailer. Not that I did, but I mean, I understood what was going to be happening in this movie. So it's just one of those things where, like I said, not a whole lot of new material here. Yes, there, you know, the ending is a little bit different than the first movie, you know, as far as how certain people survive, things like that. So, you know, it's not the most original thing out there. But again, if you're a fan of the Ready or Not franchise, I guess we can call this a franchise now. There's no reason to really not enjoy this one. Samara Weaving, once again, I thought did a great job as our pissed off heroine who just doesn't want to be here. Obviously, Catherine Newton, you know, the genre fans love Catherine Newton for the most part. So she was a nice addition to it. And Elijah Wood, man, I am starting to get really jealous of Elijah Wood because he keeps taking all these great roles. Like for an A-lister like Elijah Wood to still be so willing to do genre fare like this movie, like The Toxic Avenger, like The Monkey, it's really refreshing, and he does such a great job. Like he genuinely seems like he's having a great time, and for me, for my money, he was the high point of this movie. I thoroughly enjoyed his character. I fully expect to see his character again, but we'll talk about that during the spoilers. uh our cast, Sarah Michelle Gellar does, she does what she's supposed to do. David Cronenberg, yes, David Cronenberg himself does make an appearance early in the film, but unfortunately, he's not in the film for very long. I definitely would have liked to have seen him take more of the patriarch role, kind of like in Death of a Unicorn, where the patriarch of that family turned out to be such a major scumbag. I would have liked to have seen Cronenberg maybe flex his acting muscle a little bit more. But at the same time, he's at an elevated age now, and maybe he doesn't really want to do a horror action film for its entirety. But it's still great to see him. The secondary cast, I thought, all did good. Olivia Chang, Anthony Hall, and Nestor Carbonell, who I've been a fan of since The Tick, all the way back in the 90s or early 2000s, the live action Tick show where he played Batman. Well, I've been a fan of his, through that, his Batman, the Dark Knight appearances, and every time I see him in a film, it always makes me smile because he will forever be Batman well to me. So like I said, overall, this movie isn't going to break the mold. It's not necessarily a 10 out of 10. I can't really imagine it ending up in my top 10 by the end of the year, though it is solidly in my top 10 right now, since of course it is only late March. But like I said, overall, if you enjoyed the first one, I don't think there's much reason you wouldn't enjoy this one. So, as far as essential viewing in the theater, the sound design is okay. The set design is cool. It's nice. Once again, it's another nice mansion location with lots of grounds around the property. So, it's a well-made movie. But like I said, it's a solid, fun film. I walked out of the theater with a smile on my face. It did leave me with maybe one or two minor questions about the pact that these families had with, Mr. LaBelle and how that moves forward after the events of the finale here. So, we'll talk about some theories during the spoiler section, but yeah, overall, I had a pretty good time. So I'll go ahead and turn it back over to Mike just for sake of time.
Okay, ready or not, it's your turn, Don. What do you think about the movie?
Well, I don't have much to add to that. I'm kind of right there with Venom. I love the original. I'd probably say it's in my top 5 of the new millennium. I loved it. I had so much fun with it, and it was definitely one of the highlights of that year. This one doesn't really do much differently, but it's not like it's a bad thing. I like where it goes. I like, that this actually has a genuine reason to bring them back together, which was always going to be one of the major issues that I had with it, which was how are we going to get them to do a new pact when the original one kind of it genuinely felt like it was a one and done kind of a thing. And this one has maybe it's a little hokey, but it's certainly a worthwhile reason to get them back together. I like, the interplay that comes along with the two of them, Catherine and Samara on screen. I like the way that they bounce off each other. They feel like genuine sisters, which is, a lot of fun. The kills aren't really as grandiose as the original one was, which kind of added to everything because it was more about the shock of what happened and everything being about the one coked out sister just being so completely overwhelmed that she'd kill everything on sight accidentally, and then nobody could kill her when they had a one-on-one shot. But this one had a lot of fun moments. Some of the chases and encounters throughout the house aren't bad. The thing is that it just feels so much like the original that it doesn't really feel like it's a sequel, it feels more like a ripoff to an extent. And it has enough fun that you're gonna enjoy your time with it, but it doesn't do much that really breaks the ground, breaks the mold and kind of advances things to a degree where this could have easily have just been something that, it had a similar premise, which I'm pretty sure maybe, is gonna come up sooner rather than later in this, our show's history. But the main thing for me is that it just doesn't feel as groundbreaking when it kind of plays by a lot of the same rules that the original did. It doesn't really have anything much new in terms of like how the game itself is actually played. So it kind of just feels like, how lucky are they going to be? How much plot armor is going to be involved in keeping them alive? Are they going to stay alive until the end? Is that going to be a motivating factor for her to keep going and outwit this family when they end up killing one of her killing her sister for some reason? All these things are kind of like the main driving threads to keep this going. But yeah, it has its moments. It's not groundbreaking, but it's fun enough if you just want like a 90 minutes or so diversion. It's not really that taxing. It's not really that, deep or thoughtful. It's just a fun time. And I enjoy it. I'm kind of like Venom. I don't know if it'll be in my top 10, but as of right now, it is just, for the lack of, good films that we've had to cover here on Fresh Cuts. But yeah, it's definitely one that I can say wait for streaming because it's not really that important to see it in theaters. Maybe some of the, effects will have like a greater emphasis or greater impact if you hear it off of, the theater system or see it off of the, the major sound systems that they have in place. But other than that, it's definitely something that can wait for streaming. If you like the original, there's no reason not to give this a shot. If you were kind of lukewarm on it, like Venom said, it's not going to do much to change your opinion, but for a 90-ish minute diversion, you can do a lot worse than this. So yeah, I don't know what else I can really add that's kind of different than what Venom said. So I guess I'll leave it at that and go back to you, Mike.
Okay, generally speaking, I agree. If you're a fan of the first one, this one pretty much follows the same pattern, the same setup. And of course, because it's a sequel, there is going to be a spiel about how the stakes are higher, the importance of surviving is higher. Maybe what you get if you survive is like a grander thing. So I would say, yeah, if you're a fan of the first one, there's probably no reason to think you won't like this one to some extent. That said, for me, this was a step down from the first one just because, like, I think it added like a character that was not only unnecessary, but pretty inconsequential to the story. By the end of it, I thought there was going to be like a greater reason for that character to be there, but it wasn't really. I also think like one of the things you get in the first one is because like I'll admit like the first one I rewatched the first one before I saw this one, and even the first one went down a little bit for me on a rewatch, not much. It was still I still generally thought the same about it, but the first one a lot of what happens in the movie makes sense because like the family she's going up against are mostly like bumbling idiots that don't know what they're doing. And like, so it makes sense that like some of the kills in it are like just accidental, like the family being idiotic. This one, when we get the setup, it just seems like these girls should have been dead within like 20 minutes, like with the way they were seemingly prepared, but then they had to kind of do like the bumbling thing again to help them get through the movie. Um, and I don't know, like it seemed like the kills for the most part were less memorable. I actually thought like opening up the scope because the first one largely is inside a facility. It does get taken outside for a little bit, but this one it seemed like the scope, because they widened the scope, it kind of took the tension level down for me. Um, and what else? Oh, Elijah Wood. I agree. Elijah Wood, the best thing about this one, he was the character I was most interested in hearing more about. If I had a choice, I would have eliminated the sister character entirely and given Elijah Wood like the backstory, because I am like coming out of this movie, I'm much more interested to see how he got involved, because I guess he's like counsel to the family, so he's not. That's how I take it, like a lawyer or the legal guy there to like
He's
explain
actually,
rules and
yeah,
all
he's
that.
actually the lawyer for the council, not just the family, the entire council.
Yeah, so to me that was way more interesting. Like if we're talking about characters that were introduced in this one, to me, I'm like, I wanted more of that. I wanted his backstory. I wanted to know how he got involved. Like, what did he have to make some type of pact as well? Um, because yeah, he was really good, and I was just more interested in that actually than like half the stuff that was going on the screen. But with that said, it's still fun. If you like the first one, you're gonna get more of it for the most part. And which one you like better, to me, I don't think it's gonna be a huge swing in either direction. I personally thought the first one was better overall, but this is almost the same movie. To me, this feels like a true, like, if it's gonna be a franchise, like if they're gonna go forward with more of them, this kind of has the feel of, okay, every sequel is just gonna be set up the same scenario and do it all over again, which is not a bad thing, because sometimes that's what I like about franchises is they know what the people want and they give it to them. So with that said, yeah, it was good. I think just a little less good than the first one. I think they padded it in some ways that the first one wasn't, and that can happen with sequels too. Like you think, okay, we got to add something here and something there, and it's like, no, you really don't need to. Not that it's always a bad thing to add additional layers, but when they aren't good or when they're not interesting, at least to me, it's gonna knock the movie down a little bit. But I would say check it out if you like the first one. I mean, that's probably the fairest statement to make. So I'll leave it there for now. Back to you, Venom.
What I found interesting was within the first 10 minutes, we're introduced to Catherine Newton as, Samara Weaving's sister. And then what's the actor's name? I think it was Peter Durand. Yeah. Oh, Kevin Durand. Yeah. Kevin Durand then shows up as one of the heads of the other families. And I'm thinking, what the hell? Is this an Abigail reunion? Like, I was fully expecting Dan Stevens to show up and be the head of one of the other families. But lo and behold, no, we didn't get the Abigail reunion we were looking for. But I still, I thought this was some pretty good casting overall. I thought Sean, oh God, how do you pronounce his last name? Hattasey as Titus, was a great, a human antagonist in the movie. Sarah Michelle, I already said she did, she's not stellar necessarily in the film, but she does her role well. She plays the bitchy sister who kind of shows that she actually does care towards the end, but it's pretty much too late by that point. And we've already talked about Cronenberg and just multiple people that we get to see in this one. So I was very happy with the casting in this one. I mean, like I said, we're all pretty much in agreement. It's a solid sequel. It's a fun movie. It's not gonna break the mold. It's not something that we're going to be talking about for years and years and years, potentially the way we would be with the first movie. Though I am still open for this franchise to continue, especially because a certain character survives the film that kind of leaves you with some questions. And, obviously we'll talk about that during the spoiler section. But yeah, like I said, overall, it's a very solid movie. Definitely, I wouldn't say middle of the road. I would say definitely leaning towards, the good side. And again, I think we've all said it. If you like the first one, no reason not to like this one, other than the fact that you're not really getting a lot of new information, other than, this new part of the pact that we didn't know about in the first movie. which you basically already know about if you saw the trailer. So you don't even have to watch the movie. I did come home after the movie and watch the trailer just to see what they talk about in the trailer. And yeah, I'm glad I didn't see the trailer because they do give away basically the entire plot of the movie. So, and with a movie like this, you can almost predict the ending. Obviously we're not going to talk spoilers now, but fairly predictable ending. What can you really say about that? But I mean, yeah, I don't know what else we can really talk about that would be spoiler free that we haven't already really discussed. We got a good score, decent score, I should say. It's not like stellar by any stretch, but like I said, all aspects of this movie are good, whereas Elijah Wood is great. And that's about the only thing, because Don made a great point that the kills here aren't as memorable as they are in the first movie, especially because if you saw the first movie, you know what happens if the family fails at the game, and nothing about that really changes much in this one. So other than the people that are involved. But like I said, fun movie, decent performances. What's up, Mike?
This is more about the first one, but one thing when I rewatched the first one, I had kind of forgotten about because I hadn't seen it since the theater. I had forgotten like just how much of the family actually survives to like the last scene. And I know that's a kind of a spoiler, but hey, it's the first one. I'm sure anyone listening to this has seen at least the first one.
Yeah.
If we ever get a chance, I would want to do a rewatch of the original a review of the original because I did a rewatch as well. And I came away with a kind of hot take opinion on Samara Weaving not actually being as impressive as the community thinks she is.
You mean as in what? Do you mean like her acting, or just like what she does throughout the movie? Okay, yeah, I would actually agree with you.
Yeah, I think the community's kind of overrating her character in the original. She doesn't actually do anything.
Yeah, I mean, on my rewatch, it kind of came down a little bit because I was like, okay, it seems like half the actual deaths in that one are accidental.
No, all the deaths are accidental.
Pretty close, yeah.
And then
Mike, all the deaths are accidental. The two mates that the coked up sister shoots, the one in the dumbwaiter, and then the chef or waiter or whoever it is that's in the car accident. That's not all done by her. That's all done by extenuating circumstances. I mean, okay, the car accident, okay, you can maybe claim that. But if he hadn't have taken her, there would have been no reason for her to be in there in the first place. The only real thing, she doesn't actually kill anybody except the mother. And then the whole thing about whether or not they actually survive, nobody explodes until after the aunt goes for her again after the time has passed.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. Did the family break the rules, or was it just because okay, she went after them after the game is done, she won the game fair and square, you're not playing fair, I'm going to intervene on their behalf? Because what happens after everybody explodes? The ghost looks at her and toasts her.
No, valid.
Yeah.
I'll admit that, yes, dumb luck has a lot to do with her surviving that one. But at the same time, it's not like she's an army ranger or has any kind of experience with this stuff. She's a petite little pretty blonde girl who thinks that she's marrying into a rich family. And in my opinion, the mere fact that she survives, even if by dumb luck, is still mildly impressive. I'm not saying that she's like the new action, heroine of Hollywood by any stretch of the imagination. But, at the same time, it's not like I walked away from the first Ready or Not the way I walked away from You're Next, where I absolutely loved that girl for everything, for the offensive that she took in the situation that she was in. Samara, or Grace, didn't have the skills to take the offensive in the first movie. So, I'm not disagreeing with you. I am agreeing with you that maybe she doesn't deserve a shit ton of praise like she had gotten from the community, but like I said, the mere fact that this petite little blonde girl survived about a half dozen people trying to kill her in and of itself is mildly impressive.
Yeah. Like I said, I think she's been overrated and overvalued. I never said that she, deserved everything. I'm just saying she was overvalued.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the movie came down for me just a little bit just because I think there was like a memory in my mind that was just way more crazy over the top than it was. It was like because to me, Ready or Not, the way it's set up, it's like almost like a B movie exploitation, gonna be balls to the wall crazy, and it did what it did, but again, like so many people, it's like there's so much fodder in the movie with characters that pretty much are there to just die because you pretty much know they all have to die because unless it's going to be a one and done where Samara Weaving dies, but I was pretty sure that wasn't going to happen. So like this entire family is here just to die, and then the fact that like a good amount of them they just off in one final scene, and I know the explosion or the people exploding at the end, it was funny, but like it would have been funny if it happened to a couple of them and we still got to see like more inventive and crazy deaths throughout the movie. So that's kind of why it came down for me, but it didn't change it from being a fun movie, just in like the grand scheme of like how high I would rank this movie, it went down a little bit. I guess that's our Ready or Not one Redux review. But
I mean, I rewatched it and differently from you guys, my rating didn't go down. I still had a lot of fun with it. I fully admit that yes, I would have liked to have seen more people die in more creative ways, but coulda, woulda, shoulda is, you'll die constantly with the coulda, woulda, shoulda with every movie that we watch. So ultimately, I accept what we got from the first one, and I had a good time with it. I think I rewatched it last week, so it's been over a week since I rewatched it. But I mean, I don't remember, since we don't really rate our movies, I don't remember what I would have rated it the first time. I'd have to go back and look at my notes from that year, which are probably buried somewhere on my phone. So, but ultimately, I rewatched it. My memory of it stayed the same. I didn't rewatch it, expecting it to be like the most fun movie ever, or having like maybe a fuzzy memory of how good it was. I enjoyed it about as much on the rewatch as I did, 2-3 years ago when it first came out. So, for whatever it's worth, like I said, I still had fun with it. It didn't really come down for me. And
yeah,
ultimately Samara is not hard to look at, so that always helps.
yeah, I mean, if I'm pretty sure on the original show I recommend seeing it, I would still recommend seeing it. Like it didn't come down like that. It's just
Oh yeah. It's not like you're calling it a bomb now after praising it the first time.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. All right, folks. Well, that's going to be your spoiler warning. If you haven't seen Ready or Not 2. And isn't it weird how the movie was marketed as Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, yet the title card did not have a number 2 in it? It just said Ready or Not, Here I Come. And I'm wondering, did the marketing people think that we wouldn't know it was a sequel if they just had it named Ready or Not, Here I Come? It's almost like they added the 2 specifically to get that brand recognition, but that just seems silly. So I don't know, a weird decision on the marketer's part to, the marketing team to add the 2 to the trailers and the poster, but it's not in the movie. It's not on the title card. So whatever, a minor observance. That's all. All right, folks. Well, the stories, like I said, we've pretty much gone over the setup of the story. It's really just more, how certain people die, but obviously we know the setup. Samara, well, how Faith got there. Basically, it turns out that Faith was Grace's emergency contact, and she never changed it after they became estranged 7 years earlier. So this is the first time that they're seeing each other in 7 years. Blah 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 blah. They both get kidnapped by this council of families that used to be a council of 6 families. But obviously, the Ladomus family was taken out in the first movie. And then in one of the early scenes in this movie, like I said, Kevin Durand's character comes and tries to take out Grace before the game actually starts. Like he literally showed up at the hospital while she was still dealing with her injuries from the first film. And just as he was about to make the killing death, he explodes. Obviously, later on, we find out that he broke the rules, that he needed to wait until the game started, which was why Mr. LaBelle took him and his entire family out. So, what used to be a council of 6 families is now a council of 4 families. And obviously, the heads of these families all get together and once again try to kill Grace and Faith. And yeah, our movie just kind of goes from there. From that point, it's just set piece after set piece of different people cornering the sisters. At first, the sisters are handcuffed together when the game starts. Eventually, they're able to find like one of those circular grinders and get out of the handcuffs. And at that point, it becomes 2 against, 6 or 7 instead of 1. One thing that I did find striking about this one that I didn't feel in the first one is the game almost felt easier this time than it was last time. Like with Samara not being prepared and being alone in the first movie, it felt like her journey through that first game was a lot harder. I don't know if you guys agree, but it just kind of felt easier this time around. Because she already knew what she was in for. So there was no bullshit about should I kill these people? Should I not kill these people? It's like, no, I'm killing every fucking one of them. And the fact that her sister actually became fairly helpful once they took the handcuffs off. So I don't know. The stakes were there, but it just didn't feel as difficult. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. Well, okay. First, let me ask you a question, and then I'll get to that because I was going to ask you before, but you were in a good flow. Because you just saw it, and I saw it like I think Friday.
Mm-hmm.
The sister getting wrapped up in it, was it just a case of like wrong place, wrong time? Because I remember at the hospital, she was like, she's the emergency contact. Is that like the extent? It's like she happened to be passed out next to her, or once they got them to the facility, was there like a longer like monologue or explanation of why, or is it just like sorry, out of luck that you happen to be with her?
Yeah, just dumb luck. Because
Okay.
if you remember the hospital scene when they first get taken by Elijah Wood and that big manly woman, he throws the smoke bomb or
Who is
whatever
this?
that
Or,
is,
yeah.
and then he says, "Oh, who's this?" Like he's surprised that there's another person there. So yeah, I
Okay.
think it's just dumb luck that Faith just that Grace never changed her emergency contact. After, like I said, after they had been estranged for 7 years, because who thinks about that stuff, honestly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was just dumb luck. But
That
hey,
was my assumption, but I was
yeah.
like, let me make sure I didn't forget like a line of dialogue or something.
Oh no,
But
I don't think
and
so.
then to your other point about like it seemed a little easier, I think that's what I was saying in my general thoughts about the scope of this one. It almost like they made it bigger because I know that's usually the model of what sequels do. It's like the bigger the and better motto. The only problem to me is when you're being like hunted down by like a group of people, if you expand it to where like, oh, now we have the forest, we have this huge property, we like to me there was like a lot of time in this movie spent where they were actually separated from like the family that was like hunting them. It
Mm-hmm.
seemed like less tension through a lot of the movie, where in the first one it just seemed like constantly around every corner had the potential for someone to show up, where this one just had a lot more regrouping. The sister, yeah, there was a lot of times when it's like that someone would knock down one of the sisters, but you kind of know the other sister's there, so you kind of feel okay, the other one's gonna get up and like help. Kind of like that stuff. And I still and the thing is like I thought the sister being there, it would lead to some kind of bigger payoff by the end, like maybe because we did have the part of the movie when they figured out like the loophole, because the one Asian hunting lady, she introduced that concept of like, well, there's a loophole if you marry my son, blah blah blah. And then so later on in the movie, the sister was like telling, or I think she was telling her sister like, I'll do it. Or, I think first the sister told her and she's like, no. And then later on, she's like, okay, I'll do it. And then she just kind of like, I guess, tricked the guy. But like, I thought there would be more payoff, because I'm like, why even introduce the sister character? Like, they do have their little family drama. and they talk about it, but it's like I don't care. Like, I would care about the family drama stuff being resolved if, because at the end of the movie, the sister plays like a key role, or maybe the sister has to do like some type of double cross, or she has to get involved with like some deal with Elijah Wood, and then it makes sense. Okay, she's here so that Samara Weaving didn't have to do it, and maybe because the sister was lying about her successful life, she feels like more willing to sign up to be in this family. Some do something with it, but by the end, it's not really. She was just kind of there, and at the end of the movie, she's just kind of there. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I guess so. I mean, she's easy to look at. I mean, I'll give him that much with the casting. And she is kind of like a genre regular, I guess, at this point. So it's not like it was a bad casting it's not on the actress herself. Like, I think she was fine in the movie. I just, by the end of it, I was like, I don't really understand the point. Unless because of a sequel, they're like, we have to add another character, maybe. I don't know. What do you guys
Yeah, it's funny because about halfway through the movie, I fully expected the sister to turn on her because of their past, because of the whole, being estranged for 7 years. I thought we were going to get the reveal that the council contacted the sister first, and that, the sister was actually going to end up working with the council to kill her sister. But nope, we didn't get the contrived Hollywood twist ending that I was fully expecting. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing necessarily, but at least they subverted that expectation. So I guess I'll give them credit for that. But yeah, that's what I was expecting the end to be. I was expecting, like, at the wedding, at the quote unquote wedding at the end of the movie, that if Grace turned on Titus, that then Faith was going to turn on her sister and take the ring. But nope, not what happened at all. So basically, and let's just go over how the families all went down in one order. The first member to go down was the Indian family. The brother ends up getting put inside of an industrial dryer, like a washer dryer, like a laundromat type thing. And this thing was huge. I mean, it was human sized, obviously. And so he's the first victim, death by dryer, if you will, or washer dryer. And then we get the Spanish family, like I said, headed by Nestor Carbonell, and he ends up interrupting a conversation between Juan, who is the Asian woman that Mike spoke about, who didn't really seem like she wanted to do any killing, and she had her lawyers look through the document, of the agreement, the pact with Mr. LaBelle. And I'm sure by now everybody knows that Mr. LaBelle is Satan, right? I'm calling him Mr. LaBelle because that's what they call him in the movie. But if you saw the first movie, you know what the hell I'm talking about. So anyway, the fact that the Asian woman had her lawyers, comb the pact up and down to try to find a loophole, and then she does find one. And as Mike said, that loophole is that if she marries someone, one of the council members, like a member of a council family, that person would automatically get the seat at the head of the table, and Grace would get to live. Obviously, not in a advantageous circumstance, but at least she gets to live. So I thought that was kind of cool, to bring that little angle in there. And then, of course, what ends up happening. Oh, and then we also find out about a loophole not a loophole, but a rule that if council members kill each other, even by accident, their entire families are disqualified from the pact. And that's what ends up happening when Juan, the Asian woman, is trying to make the deal with Grace. She ends up getting interrupted by Nestor Carbonell's character, Ignacio, I believe was his name. And through Grace's interaction, she's able to guide the Asian woman's hand holding a samurai sword right into Ignacio's neck. So basically, even though it's funny because when I look at that, I don't look at that as an accidental death by the Asian woman. Grace's hand was very obviously forcing the Asian woman's hand to kill Ignacio, but it didn't matter because literally about 5 seconds after Ignacio falls from his injuries, the Asian woman explodes. And then when they go back to the room where all the non-participant family members are kind of watching on screens. Everyone's looking at her son, and they start to slowly back away, which is actually pretty funny. And literally the kid looks up and says, "Why is everybody staring at me?" And at that exact moment, of course, he explodes into a pool of blood, and that's the end of that family. Now, what's funny is that after the Indian guy dies, his brother. Oh, and I also forgot to mention that when a family member dies, they are allowed to have another family member take their place, and it would usually be the next person in line for succession to the head of the family. So when the older Indian brother died, the younger brother was next in, but apparently he was a chicken shit little bitch because he literally rescinded his basically being the head of his family, and he literally volunteers his wife. Like, what an I mean, all the people in this movie are scumbags, but man, the levels of scumbaggery sometimes even astonishes me. So yeah, he literally says, I sign over, the head of the family to my wife. Of course, the wife gets pissed off, but then she's like, well, fuck it, I'll take it. She does, they sign the agreement. She goes into the game. She literally jumps into her car, gets on the road, starts speeding towards Samara Weaving's character on the road. So obviously everybody's like, oh, she's just going to run her down and that's going to be the end of the game. But no, at the last second, she swerves out of the way and just goes right through the front gate of the facility and just literally leaves. Apparently, like, there's a lot of rules in this game, as far as like not being able to cheat or, game the system and kill other members of the pact. But apparently you can just leave if you want to, if you don't want to participate, because she literally left and there were no repercussions for her or her family. Now, after the wife leaves, the younger brother still doesn't really want to participate. So literally, I think the son. So literally the teenage son, this kid can't be more than like 16, 17 years old. He signs the document and now he is the head of that family. And he ends up, participating in the game. He ends up surviving to the end. But then, of course, we all know what happens at the end when the game fails. So let's go ahead and talk about the finale. And then, yeah, Sarah Michelle Gellar is basically killed by her brother Titus when he overhears her, plotting against him, blah, 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 blah. Then we get to the finale, and this is when basically Titus, the head of the Danforth family, has Grace's sister with a gun to her head and basically says, either get out of there, or because I think Grace was like locked in like a some kind of room or like a walk-in fridge or something like that. But Titus has a gun up to the sister's head. He threatens to kill her. Grace says, okay, stop. I'll come out, but only on one condition. And she says, only if you marry me. And Titus is like, what? Because nobody else in the family, none of the other council members knew that was a clause, that literally they could just marry Grace and automatically.
They don't read their devil book, do they?
Yeah, which is really interesting. I would imagine a lot of people have sold their soul and not read the fine print. So I think the devil thrives on that. So yeah. And of course, Titus ends up agreeing. He then takes an oath swearing to Mr. LaBelle that, no damage or no harm will come to Grace or Faith. And then, of course, it's the wedding scene. And at the wedding, it's very traditional satanic. You've got the upside down pentagram, etched on the floor. You've got council members in dark robes, hooded dark robes, all, basically attending the black mass, if you will. Both groom and bride are wearing all black. So, because Satanists only like black, apparently. So whatever. But then they go ahead, they do the wedding. They both say, I do. And then Elijah Wood, as the council lawyer, hands the ring that once belonged to David Cronenberg's character, who, by the way, we forgot to mention, he basically sacrifices himself because he being the current council head wearing the ring, he would have had to have played the game. But obviously, he's like in his 80s and he's bedridden. So he literally sacrifices himself. He lets his kids smother him with a pillow so that they, in turn, can join the game instead. And they actually game the system a little bit too, because you're only supposed to send one member of the family into the game. But because they were twins, they basically just decided, oh, we can both play. And since, Elijah Wood's lawyer character didn't seem to disagree, they just let him go. So the Danforths had an unfair advantage going into the game. So back to the wedding. And once all the I do's are done, Samara Weaving basically, once all the I do's are done and Titus is handed the ring of power, it sounds like I'm talking about the Lord of the Rings, but I'm just going to call it the Ring of Power for now. And once he's handed the ring, they talk about, they introduce him as the new head of the 6 families. Of course, it's only 4 families now. And then instantly at that exact moment, Samara pulls out some kind of sharp object and just starts stabbing Titus in the neck, in the throat, just stabs him over and over and over again, right before he falls into a sacrificial pit at the wedding location. She grabs the ring from him and basically says, oh, thank you for pointing out that we can kill family members, or that there's no rules against killing family members. Remember, there was a rule where players couldn't kill other players in the game, but there's no rule that says family members can't kill each other. So literally, at the wedding, Samara remembers that, oh, we can kill family members without any repercussions. So literally, as soon as they're married, she kills them, throws them into the pit, and she's holding the ring. And as her first and only proclamation as the head of the council, she basically sets herself free. She basically says, I separate myself from this pact and I have nothing to do with this. And since I am all powerful, which is basically how they explain it, that the winner of this game is basically all powerful, controls the world, so blah, blah, blah. She allows herself to leave, and then in her last act, while still holding the ring, she literally throws the ring into the sacrificial pit. At that moment, all the other family members are like, can she do that? Like, what's going on? And Elijah just looks at them all and says, there's nothing in the rules that says she can't do that. She's now free to go. But at this point, there's only 3 minutes left until sunrise. And the rule is somebody must be wearing the ring when the sun comes up. So obviously, members of the council start jumping into the pit and they start fighting each other. They start stabbing each other. And it just becomes a big old free for all. And then eventually the sun does rise and we just get a giant explosion of blood coming out of the sacrificial pit as Grace and Faith are just about ready to leave. And then the last surviving member of the council, not including the lawyer, is the Indian younger brother who kind of, signed away his rights to the head of the family. He comes out of the woodwork laughing, saying, oh my God, I survived because I rescinded the pact. And then I started to think, well, wait a minute, you didn't rescind the pact. All you did was rescinded your head of the household title. And at the exact moment that I thought that in my head, boom, he explodes. And I'm like, the movie had the same idea I did. So yeah, at that point, the only person left alive is Elijah Wood. He quietly takes the book that he's been carrying with him that has all the rules and signatures from all the participants and quietly just fades into the darkness. So that's why I'm saying I fully expect to see him. If there's a third movie, I hope that he's present in the third movie just to be able to see where this, because obviously at this point now there is no council, everyone is dead, and Samara has left the ring in the pit and everyone in the pit is dead, so there's literally no council. So of course, go ahead, Mike.
If they make a third one, it would, and they want Samara Weaving specifically back, or both the sisters, I don't know, but there would have to be like a pretty good explanation, because by this point, to me, even the explanation of why she had to do this game. It was a little sketchy, but I'll take it. But now I'm like, what would be her obligation now, even beyond
Exactly.
this? That it'd be
No,
tough.
big time. Absolutely. It would have to be some kind of actual um basically Mr. LaBelle would have to basically, intervene, if you will. Like I can't
Yeah.
imagine the lawyer would start up a whole new council. I mean, but maybe he will. Like maybe
Either
that's his
that
job.
or they would have to like do one of those things where like, well, looking back at the events of the first two movies, there was actually a breach in like how the contract works, and because of the breach, you are still obligated to like survive one more. They would have to do something
Yeah.
like that.
Another thing I was hoping is I was kind of hoping they would play a new game. Like, I know hide and seek has, but the thing is, they're not really playing hide and seek so much. I mean, they kind of are
This
in the
felt more like
first
The
movie.
Hunt, the movie The Hunt, but like,
Yeah, exactly. It feels more just like Predator and Prey in a hunt. The first movie felt a little bit more like a traditional hide and seek game, especially because the majority of that movie took place indoors, whereas the majority of this movie kind of seems to take place outdoors. A lot of action on the golf course, a lot of action in the woods. So, but yeah, there you
yeah,
go,
the
folks.
dude sitting up with like the military grade sniper. I'm like, if you can't kill them with that, it's gonna
Yeah,
be a
that was
long day
embarrassing.
for you guys. I mean,
That was fucking embarrassing. That gun looked like it could shoot somebody by itself without a fucking person controlling
I
it
mean,
like
that
that.
gun probably shoots a human body in half, like when the bullet hits.
Exactly, like the caliber bullet. I mean, that was a gigantic bullet that was coming out of that gun. But yeah, Mr. Carbonell. And it's funny how his kids were both like, he never practices. They're lamenting the fact that his father never practices killing.
Yeah,
But yeah.
I did think because the first movie I know like it was kind of like saying messaging about like wealth discrepancy, the wealth gap. And I think this one continued that, but I think what the element this one added in was like how it gets even more absurd for like the wealthy people's offspring, how they often just like unjustifiably take over for like the parents. I mean, that's usually how it goes, right?
Sure.
The
Mhm.
grandparents or great grandparents started a business long, long time ago, worked its way up from nothing, made a lot of money. And like as it gets handed down each generation, they get like more far removed from like the actual hard work it took. And they just are kind of like enjoying the fruits of the labor. So things get more sloppy, they get more entitled, they get more greedy because that's the only real direction to go for a lot of them. So I think this one was like kind of saying that about like the next generation of kind of like the of the wealthy people. But I
Mhm.
did really like the scene with, I think it was bear spray, was it, or mace in the
Yeah.
wedding hall. That one was pretty funny.
Yeah,
Um,
that was interesting.
that was a good one. But yeah, overall, still a fun movie. I just think there were like a few little elements of this one that it comes in under the first one for me, but
Yeah.
still the same thing. If you like the first one, see it in the theater too.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like Don said, I don't think it's essential theater watching, but I mean, if you were a big fan of the first one, then I would say absolutely go to the theater to check this out, just to support the genre more than anything. I'm one of those guys that says go see every horror movie, because the more horror that you guys go out and watch and pay for, the more we're going to get in theaters. And I feel like 2026 is a result of some of the past years, big money making horror films. Because, as we've already seen, there's been almost a release every single week this year. I think we've only not gone to the theater like 3 weeks so far, and it's the end of March. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
So, definitely.
I really like Samara Weaving, and I think she's at that point in her career, like she might be leaving genre stuff in the rearview mirror pretty soon. Not
Yeah.
because she doesn't want to do it anymore, but I think she's gonna start getting offered like big, kind of like how Rachel McAdams, like
Yes.
when she did Send Help, it was kind of a surprise. It was like, whoa, what is she doing with genre stuff? Just because all the stuff that probably comes across her desk um, with offers. So I think Samara Weaving is probably on the brink of that as well. So like enjoy
Yeah.
her in the genre while we still can.
Exactly. No, you're right. You're definitely right. But either way, if there is a third one, I'm there for it. Even if it's just been a more been there, done that. It'll be disappointing, yes, but I'll still happily watch it. But hopefully, if they do a third one, they up the stakes, maybe make this thing a little bit more global. I mean, don't turn it into the Running Man necessarily, where we've got like a whole city of people going after Samara Weaving. But I mean, there's got to be a way to up the stakes. And
I think.
oh, and I did forget to mention that we also do get to see Mr. LaBelle at the end of the movie, just like we did in the first movie, where he appears as like a transparent image in the chair, and he does the same thing. He nods to Samara after the game is over. So more been there, done that.
I think maybe like an idea for a third one, if they do it. First of all, it should be Ready or Not, You Can't Hide to like follow up on the subtitle. But I would almost say like if I had a wish list, I would bring the scale back down, but maybe if they pick it up directly after this, we're like, okay, the council's been destroyed, maybe LaBelle enlist Elijah Wood to like recruit for like the start of a new council. So like maybe he goes to like a Fortune 500 CEO and gets him to like stage like an overnight game with like his corporate exec team or something, and then like it takes place in like a high rise like corporate office building. So like you have like your team of 12 to 15 execs, and you're like, hey, I'm going to present you with this offer, and gives a spiel, and then you guys murder each other until whoever survives is now on this satanic council. Maybe something to bring it back and contain it, because I really want that kind of claustrophobic paranoia feeling back that I think went away a little bit in the second one.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go with that. More close quarter combat, definitely. It makes the kills seem more personal than killing somebody with a sniper rifle or a rocket launcher, things like that. So, and it does suck that we get a rocket launcher and we don't even get a rocket launcher kill in this movie. That blows. I love seeing people get torn to shreds by a fucking RPG.
When she raised it up, I was like, how the hell is she going to get out of this one? And then, of course, she had it backwards.
She got out of it through idiocy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and that's what that I think like stuff like that was kind of like the subtext of like idiot children of of the ones who actually put in the work.
Yes,
don't know what the hell they're doing. Even more so.
Nepotism is not good.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, does that pretty much wrap it up? Don, you got anything to close out here?
No, I can't really think of much. Yeah, I mean, like we said, it's not exactly essential theater viewing, but if you had enough fun with the original, yeah, I had enough fun with this one that it's definitely at least worth a watch when it hits streaming.
Cool. Well, with that, we survived till dawn, and and with that, we're gonna let everyone know where else they can hear us. So, Venom, anything new out?
It's not out yet, but Creature Comforts episode number 48 is in the can. I will be editing it on Wednesday, as it's my only day off this week, so I'll go ahead and edit that Wednesday, and then it should be available. It'll definitely be on YouTube before the end of the week, but look for it on your podcast catchers maybe this weekend or early next week. And on that episode, we took a look at my picks, which was 1976's The Food of the Gods, something that I had wanted to revisit because I tell a story about how I saw the movie when it was first run all the way back in 1977, but I just never rewatched it again. So it gave, this podcast gave me a reason to finally rewatch it. So yeah, that episode will be out hopefully sooner than later. We already have episode 49 planned out, but obviously that's the April episode. We are back on track on Creature Comforts, thankfully, despite all of my, constantly being busy. We are back on track and back on time. So look out for episode 48 sometime later this week and episode 49 in April. And who knows, maybe we'll do something special for episode 50 in May. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, that's about it from me.
Sweet. What do you got, Don?
Yeah, not much else. Creature Comforts, we finally got that one recorded. Should be gearing up for another one of those roundtables that I've done the past few times with Paranormal is the New Normal, but I'll reveal more about that when time comes.
All right. And the main show, yeah, we recorded the latest episode. Gotta edit that sometime, probably later this week, probably this weekend. We talked Life Force and Planet of the Vampires with Nicole. How do you say the last Trawick?
Trawick, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. One of our, she's one of the not only listeners, but she probably gives us the most like feedback and reaction to the show,
Yeah.
like on comments. So
Absolutely.
if
Yeah,
you're on
she's
the group
easily
page,
our most vocal listener. She's constantly giving us feedback and talking about, enjoying listening to the show, things that she agrees with, disagrees with. And, that always does my heart good to see active listeners. Obviously, if all you do is listen to the show, thank you very much. But if you're going to be active like on the social media and actually talk to us, then yeah, it makes the effort that much more worth it. So thank you, Nicole, and thank you any other listener who ever reaches out to us. So yeah,
even if they're angry about Exorcism
Oh,
at 20,000
hell yeah,
feet.
dude. I love haters. I absolutely love haters. Please bring all the haters. Shit, I'll give you my email address. You could send me all the hate directly.
Last thing I got was we just recorded the latest Cinema Beef episode, which we did Ruckus and First Blood double feature. So look for that.
What a
I would
great double
say-
feature.
I'd say yeah, maybe in the next week or so as well. So yeah, that one's Cinema Beef records every other Thursday. I will be out of town for the next recording, so who knows who will show up, because that's how we got it going. Lots of potential co-hosts, guests, all of that. I think Natural Born Killers is one of the movies for the next episode. I just can't remember what it was being paired with.
Yep. And I kind of want to get into that one because I have a lot to say about Natural Born Killers.
Yeah, it sounds like they might be putting together an impromptu Thursday show because Gary kind of half missed the Rambo episode because of stupid car issues, life stuff, and he was like, "Man, I feel like I missed a whole rotation." So we might have a surprise episode recording Thursday. We'll see. Everyone in the chat, check it. But other than that, this week coming up, there's actually the biggest release is probably They Will Kill You. There's, I think Alpha is coming out, but it's more limited. That's the new one from the director of Raw and Titan.
Yep.
And then there's that witchy one. It's almost like Mean Girls Witches is what the vibe I got from the trailer. Two of them are in my Regal,
that
but
thing in the mall, right?
yeah, I forgot the name of it.
I've seen the name around once or twice, and that's been it.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm pretty sure we're gonna be doing They Will Kill You, which is just I bring it up every time, but it's funny because it looks like Ready or Not 3, maybe.
Ready or Not 2.5 next week.
It definitely has that kind of setup. But we'll see what they do with it, because just because it's similar doesn't mean it can't be a kick-ass on its own too. So we'll see. I assume that's the one we're gonna do. That's definitely the biggest release that I've seen the most advertising for. But you never know. When we have multiple releases, that's never a bad thing that we get to choose something.
Isn't that other one from Shudder, The Mortuary Assistant? I think that's coming out this week or next week too.
Oh, like on Shudder?
Yeah, it's either this week or next week.
If so, I'm assuming that's based on the video game, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I remember watching someone play that on Twitch, and it looked pretty creepy. I don't know. I don't know if there was lore in the video game or if it was just like haunted mortuary, but I'd be interested to see how the movie handles that subject material. So that's another one to keep an eye on. But anyways, without running down every movie coming out in the next few weeks, let's get the hell out of here. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll be back in a week with the next one. Let's say bye, listeners.
Later.
Think hard about those pacts with the devil. You can't get out of them as easily as you think.
Peace.